Today I would like to talk about a topic many of us may not realize, but very important topic. I call it as conditioning. And I am one of the people who look at each one of us as conditioned species, meaning that the minute we're born, we are affected by our parents, thereafter our family, our friends, our society, that conditions us to make us who we are. Imagine, look at yourself. Who are you? You recollection of memories. Those memories that you had since you were born makes up who you are. Now, assuming that you can take and go back in time and change that time frame at one level and change your all the memories that you had to something different. That will make you a different person. You won't be this person that you were. In a way, I look at us as human beings, conditioned beings, and in a way, this is relative. Everything that may be thought by our family, our society, may not necessarily be very actual. May not be. They may be false in it, and perhaps I kind of feel this may be the source of conflicts we have in the planet Earth between human societies. Each one is conditioned in a different way, and each one is thinks their way is the best. They are the right one, and there we go. And we start fighting. We start arguing. We start killing each other, and that creates the conflicts of human dilemma, self-destruction, and that's why we're living today in third millennium, still having the threat to humanity. I would like some input, my friends, what their view is, things that I have expressed.
Well, conditioning does affect every aspect. You're right. Every aspect of our lives, from the time we were born and we grow up, and how we interact with each other, with our parents, with our peers. And one thing, actually, that I had a short discussion with my sister when I visited her in the Philippines, is that because she deals with different kinds of people from different colleges, whether and we ask each other, why are she and I are doing very well in our careers? Because our parents never really pushed us to do well. We never got any reward for getting an A in a test, in a grade. And we boil it down to one thing. It's motivation. And that's another way of conditioning. But self-motivation, we were motivated by our peers to do better than what we can do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes competition is not good, but tell you one thing, it's one way of conditioning that affected our lives, that made her, very successful, and me, very successful with what I do best.
And also a better human being.
Right. So, but we were not given rewards. When you look at condition, even when we're taught about Freud, is that you give reward to condition something. But when we were growing up, there were no rewards. It was our peers.
Perhaps reward, in a simplest way, we can think of what Freud may have said, but maybe in a more complex picture, even the motivation and self-satisfaction. There are other, perhaps, conditioning parameters important that we don't understand. Those are the things maybe we should analyze. We should try to understand.
Well, that's true, because you look at this, because like look at our kids. They go to good schools in there, but not all of them do very well.
Although I think some valid points have been brought up clearly with regards to conditioning. And I believe that there's no escaping that all of us have been conditioned in one anthropological societies whereby they were to come upon natives in the African jungle, deep in the African jungles, where a child was not brought up with a parent and used allowed to pretty much do whatever he or she wanted. Almost invariably, that child or person would worship the sun. So he or she had no input from parents, and yet was able to develop a system on his or her own to worship the sun. So although conditioning is very important, I think that's just part of the whole kit and caboodle. Certainly whatever genes are dealt to us clearly influences who we are and what we do and why we do.
So if you were to live life without being affected by anybody as a little kid in the jungle, you survive, you know how to eat, you know how to find food. I mean, basic, instincts obviously dominate, and you get conditioned by the nature, and you need to think in terms of you trying to understand where you are at. Nobody is guiding you, nobody is you showing you any direction. So it is the nature that's guiding you. So if the nature, you see everything is trees, other animals, you see the sun is coming up and going back, and it's heating you, you feel warm with it. Obviously, you kind of feel some power that the sun possesses, you feel it. You know what? In all honesty, we are the nous sommes de soleil. We are the son of sun. So if it wasn't for sun, there won't be any energy source on planet Earth, and we won't be surviving. It's one of the fundamental things for survival. Yeah. But that kind of deviates from the conditioning. In a way, I say, yeah, it is conditioning. You're conditioned by the human nature, everything that you went, and that human nature did push you towards realizing what the importance of the sun is. Obviously, you can look at sun in many different ways using your critical thinking. If you have the most basic way of looking at it, you know that there is something important about sun. You can say, if you advance critical thinking, yeah, sun is the star. Or you can say, as a little kid in the jungle, looking at it, looking at the sun, you can worship it as a god. So it's all sort of relative how deep your critical thinking is, but still, conditioning process is not just what your parents teaching you. Conditioning is everything that you experience after you're born. Let it be nature conditioning you, let it be your parents conditioning you. It's not somebody is telling you how to behave. It's a matter of reacting to your external stimuli, whatever that external stimuli is.
So it is your response or the influence of external stimuli on an organism.
Yes.
Which, as we alluded to earlier, is one of the dictionary definitions of life. Ability to respond to external stimuli.
Right.
So in its most generic form, if you want to look at it that way, then I would acquiesce.
Understand, you cannot deny the impact of the gene in a human response behavior. And again, I have to say, even with that mind thought, somebody, whatever the genes are, gets conditioned in some way, maybe gonna be, because of the giving the conditions of that environment, could become the most killer, and would become the leader, would become very, the person still getting some influences because of the circumstances in a way that probably most of us would not want to be somebody bad. But I mean, regardless, good or bad, regardless, human nature affecting you or your parents affecting you, we are getting influence. Obviously, what's being influenced? It's us. Whatever genes we possess. In other words, it's not like a conditioning is gonna do things in a one way, only. It's very variable, and it response is based upon who we are, what genes we have, and it could be very variable. And obviously, there's a need to study all that.